We'll move forward now. Second week in a row, we are touching on Quentin Tarantino. We're not going to take super long on this topic, but it is worth mentioning. Also, update from last week. Might as well throw this in there. Gives me a chance to talk about this book again. I am on page 176 now. I'm really hauling ass through this book. I started it last Friday, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I was talking about a Dom with you pre-show. I just love the mass market paperback. Like these film novelizations, these like tiny compact things. I always just really love this style. And I'm reminded how much I love this style.
Just the covers, just the cover alone. It's like, damn, this is taking me back to like the 90s, going to O'Hare Airport and seeing that at the store, right?
I know, right? Like, we'll do our thing now. Like I said, I'm on page 176. And I'm going to do the thing we did last week. I don't know if we're going to keep this up as a thing. Dom suggested we do this. I'm going to open up to a random page. I'm going to go towards the back of the book now and see if we find an F-bomb or an obscenity of some sort.
The spiciest word. Find the spiciest word.
347. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Nobody on a Cougar set calls cut but George. Kate fucking Hepburn wouldn't call fucking cut, but Rick Dalton calls fucking cut. There we go. That's been Find the F-bomb and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I found 3 for you in one sentence.
This got to be a bit, man. This got to be a constant thing.
For as long as I read this, for as long as I keep reading this, we'll do this. Because I want to hopefully finish it by next weekend. But because it is long, it's 400 pages. But I've been making a good time. I've been reading like a chapter or 2 a day.
Quentin,
so.
Just the out of context Quentin Tarantino writing is so good.
Yeah. Let me tell you, he is really the Ayn Rand of writers in terms of why use 10 words when you can use 50. In terms of extensive detail, not politics. Just in terms of the Ayn Rand of writing, like excessive detailing.
I don't know. I think Quentin Tarantino would be a big fan of that free market feat.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I liked him on Bill Maher, too. This is totally irrelevant to the topic, but I loved him on Bill Maher because Bill Maher was talking about how great this was and how much he admires Tarantino as a filmmaker. And Tarantino goes, imagine me going to my publisher finally with when Harper Perennial signed me. He's like, imagine them being so excited to sign me to this 2-book deal and then telling them, I know all the money's in hardcover and like limited editions, but I'm like, guys, I want to make a mass market paperback. Let's sell it for $8.
He can do that.
He's like, can you imagine their excitement? But anyway, Quentin Tarantino's in the news. He has purchased the historic LA theater Vista Theatre. He said it on the podcast with Dax Shepard. Fun fact, Dax Shepard, if you want to know what he's doing, he's got a podcast called Armchair Expert. I feel like every 5 years, Dax Shepard finds his way into the headlines again, there's Without a Paddle, and then there's like everything else. Hit and Run was good though, but moreover, but yeah, he said he's plans to reopen the Vista Theater, which is really just laid dormant. He wants to reopen it by Christmas. And this is the second theater Tarantino owns. He owns the New Beverly Cinema, which, fun fact, is referenced not only in the movie, but in the book as well for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's owned the New Beverly Cinema in LA since 2007. He bought that around the same time Grindhouse was coming out, Planet Terror and Death Proof, around the same time, which feels fitting.
You can't see it right now on the screen, Steve, but I have a picture of Quentin Tarantino in front of his Beverly Cinema, and on the marquee is Grindhouse Fest, Black Shampoo, and Human Tornado. That's what's on the marquee.
That's funny. I see the photo now on the stream. Yeah, it's very fitting because Tarantino as well, he really wants to continue to show, like, in a way, we're talking film preservation once again. He wants to show older films, but I like how he put it to Shepard. He said, older films that you can like hold a 4-night engagement for and people will come. But he also wants to keep it, like movies that were shot on film. He wants to keep it celluloid, which is a rapidly deteriorating art. I think, beyond whatever, it's his theater now. He can do whatever the hell he wants with it. Both New Beverly and Vista are going to have permanent financial backing. That goes without saying. But I'm surprised more filmmakers don't do this. Like, how nobody bought like the Alamo Draft House or what is it, Cinerama, one of those. I'm not a big LA
Yeah.
guy, so I don't really know. Like Cinerama in LA. How has no filmmaker footed the bill for that? Like just been the theater's landlord. Even if they were to outsource it to like a board or something or a small committee and be like, do whatever the hell you want with it. But here's the money I'm putting aside just to keep this thing active. And that's where, love or hate Tarantino, whatever you think of him, you have to admire that. Like, this is a guy who obviously makes movies, and a lot of which are based on classic Hollywood, right down to certain scenes. Spoiler alert, the dance scene in Pulp Fiction was not created by Tarantino. That was a riff off of an Italian movie, but nobody wants to have that discussion.
Oh, he's one of those people who steals a lot, but makes it great.
A lot. Makes it great, like, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing necessarily, because it's like, what's the saying? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. And Tarantino has done his own Ocean's trilogy of stealing in his work, and I love it. So, hell yeah.
And he at least does something with it, makes it artful and whatnot. But like, you can't deny the guy loves Hollywood, loves film history. He wants to keep it alive. His next book is going to be a work of film criticism, which is funny because anybody who's read this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novel knows that basically you got the taste of Tarantino's films during like the 20-page second chapter where we get to learn the background of Cliff Booth. There's like no dialogue in the second chapter either. There's a little bit of a scene setting, and then it's just pretentious film rants. We even get Cliff Booth's ranking of Akira Kurosawa's films in this thing. Like, I'm like, he's not gonna, but don't ever change Tarantino. It is cool he bought the Vista Theatre. Any closing thoughts though, or what say you on the matter, Dom?
Yeah, so he plans on showing not only the old stuff, which is perfect. Honestly, if we just played the old stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is Tarantino's like theater. Hell yeah, I'm here to watch probably Fistful of Dollars for the millionth time in this thing, sure. But he also wants to show new stuff as long as it was shown on film. So a shit ton of Christopher Nolan. That's what we're gonna be seeing. Yeah. Tenet, Dark Knight trilogy. Probably that's actually probably too new for him as well. Honestly, I just love Tarantino's brand of like, feet aside, just love his brand of just being a kind of an elitist asshole, but in like a really rough and tumble kind of way that makes it really fun. Where it's like, yeah, this is a time. This is a good break from everything. And he's not my favorite director. We could do our whole spiel on how if you think Quentin Tarantino is your favorite director, you're probably not watching too many films, which is an opinion from my friend, but I will not name them. But aside from that, I love Tarantino, not gonna lie.
I do too. I can criticize him. I look forward to all his stuff.
Of course, he's got his problems in like, in his style. If you don't like his style, I understand that. But like, for me, it's the perfect break from like regular movies. You know what I mean? In a way. But yeah, the fact that he has this theater now that is perfectly on brand. It's a little snooty the way he's taking it too, a little bit, and I'm totally down for that. And yeah, as you mentioned, because like production companies, studios, they can't own theaters because that would go back to the Paramount decision. I love name drop. I like to be an elitist asshole and name drop the Paramount decision. But individual directors. Sure, go for it. Straight to the source, baby. I'm surprised
that's not more common. Between like Alamo Drafthouse and a couple other like really historic theaters, especially in the wake of the pandemic that have closed, I'm surprised more filmmakers don't step up. Like I'm waiting for somebody like Kevin Smith or somebody. Yeah. You know what I mean? To like do that. They got the money. They have the money to do that. And I mean, it just creates a larger like history for like a legacy for you too, especially somebody like Tarantino who keeps insisting he's retiring after his next movie. Somebody like Tarantino who, you can say what you want. He sounds pretty definitive about retiring because he's like, he talks about people like Don Siegel and stuff who went on to direct like ho-hum movies before they passed after making a career. And he goes, I want to go out on top and stuff, which I'm sure he does. He's almost 60. But at the same time, then it's like, what are you going to have? Like, even he was on Bill Maher recently. And even Bill Maher is like trying to talk him out of retirement. And then finally he just gives up and says, you're going to be fucking bored. Like, but for something like that, he's got to wonder about his legacy. I mean, it's kind of set in some ways, but he's got to wonder about like the lasting impact, man. And if you can own a theater, let alone multiple historic sites in LA, and keep the tradition of film alive, that garners a lot of respect from me, and I think a lot of other people.
If he did retire and he was just the guy who started buying up all these historic theaters all over the country, not even LA, but just all over the country. Like if like the Tivoli here in Downers Grove, the Tivoli Theater was going out of business and Quentin Tarantino snatched that up, hell yeah, I'm down for that. And then he just becomes a guy who just retired, shows up to all these theaters that he owns in like slippers
For real.
and a robe. I'm like, yeah, you're living off your millions.